example. For judging. So, I know, I'm totally in for it. So this is Women Who Write.
Yeah.
Todd and I are interlopers. The last time I checked, I don't belong here.
Changed the name.
I decided. You're going to need the 100. Yeah. I decided to write this book right after I decided not to run for president. And I was going to Vancouver to do a film job, and at the border I was turned away because they discovered an arrest that I had 40 years before. It had taken 40 years for it to get from San Francisco into the computer system in Canada, and they accused me of being a felon, and felons are not allowed in Canada. So I spent a year of criminal rehabilitation with the Canadian government, and during that time I wrote this book, which charts my evolution from this little kid here to this guy here.
Wow.
Now, I wasn't sure of the format today and how much to read. I've got a couple of chapters that I can read from. One is called Hung Like a Horse.
Yeah.
And the other is called Spot. I have a feeling you'd like the first one. You're going to have to buy the book, you know, to read the second one, or the Hung Like a Horse one. So I'm going to read Spot, okay? All right, the little picture of me is a little tiny boy here, and so I'll just jump right into it. Now, when I was 3, we got a dog from the pound. I was terrified of dogs and spent the first few days of dog ownership climbing around the house on the top of furniture, lest I be devoured by the pudgy female Dalmatian now prowling the rooms of our Pasadena Craftsman house. My parents named the dog Spot. If they had had an ironic bone in their bodies, I might have considered such a moniker for a Dalmatian cool. But alas, they were Republican. And seriously Republican. As a result, I always considered the choice lame. The whole package, the whole Hamlin thing was somehow lame in my 3-year-old judgmental subconscious, and I included myself in that whole lame Hamlin package. Now, at the time that we got Spot from the pound, the American military-industrial complex had just finished up with World War II and was working on the tail end of the Korean War, and industry was punching out shell casings and hadn't gotten around to doggy bowls. So we had to get creative when it came to feeding the dog its half can of horse meat a day. That was pretty much all that was on the menu for dogs after the war. As I recall, it was cow can horse meat, a tasty treat that Spot was kind enough to share with my father from time to time after he had had a particularly long night out on the town. I would stroll into the kitchen around 9 a.m. on a Sunday morning, and there would be Dad, bleary-eyed, a sterling silver fork in hand, rooting around for the perfect morsel of horse flesh in the nearly empty can of cow can. Spot would sit next to him, drooling and wondering why the human was putting her food into his mouth. My father had peculiar tastes, and like Leopold Bloom, ate with relish the inner organs of beasts and fowls. Our refrigerator was stocked with everything from pickled pig's feet to calves' brains, which he made us all eat as a ritual on Christmas morning before opening the presents all throughout my childhood. We fed Spot her horse meat in all manner of containers and bowls from the kitchen until we finally settled on a metal deep dish bread pan that was just the right size and it had really frustrating right-angled edges, so the dog would spend hours trying to get it in bits in the corners. I now know why dog food is served in round bowls. We endured hours of scraping and clanging as Spot pushed the bread pan all over the back patio. Must have driven her crazy. All that pushing and scraping, though, meant that the pan had a relatively short shelf life, and we got her new bowls about twice a year and retired the old bowls to the garden shed for some unknown future use. My parents had been through the Depression, you see, and a couple of world wars, and you just didn't throw anything out. It's one of those discarded bread pans that contributed to my first big life mistake. It was around the time we got Spot that I discovered I had a very, very small penis. I have a weird memory of one of the nursery school teachers teaching me how to shake the last drop of urine off my tiny, tiny little penis. She had the audacity to actually take my minuscule member between her enormous red nail-polished thumb and forefinger as I stood before a large floor-length urinal and shake and shake and shake while she said in a very sexy voice, "Shake it, shake it, shake it until you get the very last drop." Now, the male member at age 3.5 has about the girth of a Ticonderoga No. 2 pencil. It's about an inch long in its flaccid form, which is its customary state until around a year later, when it starts to get erect in the mornings for no particular reason. If a man is lucky, he will continue to behave that way forever. That fact notwithstanding, the sight of my little pencil dick being grasped by the gigantic thumb and forefinger of my 20-something nursery school teacher has forever inoculated me with a sense of inadequacy. From that moment, sex, urine, red nail polish, and the notion that my penis was way too small have been inexorably connected. Perhaps it was this twisted idea that sent me off on my criminal path. It certainly led me to my first big lie, one that has haunted me for 54 years, and one that, thank God, removed the urine part from the above sexual equation. Now, who knows at what point children recognize their sexuality? I've often wondered if boys start getting those twinges before girls and how those twinges might manifest themselves. I once had a girlfriend who revealed to me that when she was 8, she slathered her vagina with Bosco and let her basset hound lick it off. True story. I never looked at basset hounds quite the same way. But thankfully, the story had no effect on my opinion of vaginas, and I still enjoy looking at them anytime I can, with or without chocolate sauce. I started having vague sexual sensations around the age of 4 or 5, and because the nursery school potty experience had blended pee with sex, I discovered that I would get a boner if I peed somewhere I wasn't supposed to, which was, anywhere but the toilet. I had special spots, which fortunately were all outside the house. When no one was looking, I'd whip it out and let it rip. Now, my favorite of those special places was one of those old, beat-up, forgotten horse meat bowls lying under a bush on the south side of the house. Now, at 4, there's always someone around making sure you're not lighting the house on fire, so it wasn't easy to get those special moments alone with my full bladder and that beat-up bread pan, but I was lucky one week, and before long, the pan was full of my young yellow pee. It was exciting and forbidden, and I would get off like a rocket every time I snuck outside to empty my bladder. All was well and good until one afternoon when I heard my older brother screaming about someone peeing in the dog's bowl. I ran around to the side of the house as a feeling of dread crept up my spine. There, standing over my bowl of forbidden piss, was my brother and my mother. My mother was not amused, and my brother was pointing at me and screaming that I was a pervert. Both looked at me with horror, sure that I had perpetrated this gross transgression. They demanded that I admit to the crime. My brother was especially adamant, and why shouldn't he be? After all, the day I was born, he didn't gain a brother, he lost his dominance.